Our outdoor rinks in city parks are open this winter, and it's all thanks to the wonderful volunteers who donate their time and expertise in maintaining them. So joining me now is one of those volunteers at Cornwall's, fabled King George Park, Corey Stone. Welcome to the show, Corey.
Hey, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here today.
All right, so first let's get to know you a little bit. Obviously, it's a little fitting that I hear that you really like snow, Christmas, and the Habs.
Yeah, most definitely. It's a pretty good fit. I've been born and raised in Cornwall. I spent a lot of my time as growing up playing at the King George Park. That was our home rink, so to speak. I spent hours there when I wasn't in school. I was at the rink and vice versa. A lot of time shoveling the rinks, getting games going, organizing groups to get together and go down and play. And we'd be there from after school right till 10 o'clock at night on some nights and even till early in the morning on the weekends.
That's great, and so it was a natural progression, I guess, to decide to volunteer. But maybe you could talk a little bit about why you decided to and how you got started.
Yeah, sure. I've been something I wanted to do for a long time, especially at the rink. I always wanted to be a rink rat. Growing up as kids, we had the luxury of having clubhouses and man clubhouses with city employees there. So that's a little bit of my inspiration. At 8th Street Park, there was a guy named Jerry years and years ago, and he was there. He would run a whole shift there. He'd have the TV going for the kids, hot chocolate going. He'd be out there shoveling and watering the ice at nighttime. He was a pretty good inspiration. My background, I played a lot of hockey as well and a lot of time on the outdoor rinks. And I do love shoveling for some crazy reason. I don't know why to this day. But like I said, I met my match this week with the King George Park. Um, there was a lot of snow that fell, and I was out there for about a good hour and a half by myself. 2 days ago, I did about a quarter of the rink, and I met my match. I tapped out, and I said, "What am I gonna do?" So I put a post out on Facebook looking for anybody to give me a hand with to get my snowblower from my house to the park. I don't have a trailer or anything like that. No success. So I just walked it down there yesterday from my house, walked it down to King George Park, and I got the ice cleared. My fiance came home on her lunch break and helped me out to finish it off. And all in all, it was about a 3 hour job. It was a lot of snow. It was heavy.
Absolutely, that's dedication for sure. And you mentioned, of course, your fiance, and I know that she's been involved as well as your son. So let's talk a little bit about how you've made it a family affair.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, the post on Facebook looking for some volunteers to do the rinks, and I wanted to give back to the King George Park, the community in general, but mainly the King George Park, my home rink as a kid. And I always told myself, well, I want to do something to help out other people or whatever the case is. And I jumped on this year. I sent out an email saying I was willing to help out with the rink this year. I got an email back. The hoses were dropped off, the shovels were dropped off, and away we went. And as a family, that's what we said. They'll give us something to do, whether it's a couple hours a day or a few hours a week here and there to get out as a family and just to get out and enjoy the weather, cold or not. It was enjoyable. And yeah, my son had a good time. He's out shoveling with us. He's not much of a hockey player or skater, but this helped him get back on skates. He hasn't been on skates since he was 3. He's 12 years old now, so he comes out with us, and we make it a nightly thing to get out, even if you don't have to maintain the rink, but just to get out for a good skate for at least a half an hour, and that always turns into about an hour and 45 minutes. My
Wow.
fiance as well, she's quick to get us going too after supper when we don't feel like going out or doing anything. Well, let's go to the rink. The rink needs to be shoveled, or it needs a flood if it's on a real cold night. So we get all bundled up and head out there, and she's right there with the shovel in hand, and she gets us going sometimes. So it's a good family experience. Like I said, to give back to the community, if you want to look at it that way or not, we just enjoy doing it. It's just fun to be out there, and it gives us something to do and helps me as well. It gets me out of my own thoughts, my own things going on in life. And I just designate 1 hour a day minimum to get out there and just focus on the rink, taking care of the rink. So far, so good.
For sure, and you can't put a price on the memories that you'll have as a family from this, right? But when you talk about that next generation with your son, what are you hoping that he kind of takes from this in terms of giving back and learning?
That's the thing, and that's what keeps me going as well, is to give back in any aspect, whether it's for the community or for somebody shoveling a neighbor's sidewalk or picking up your neighbor's garbage cans, is just to give back, get out of yourself and help out any way that you can, as long as it makes sense and safe. And this is one of the things where I know myself, I've had it as well. The standby effect, or I can't think of the wording I was thinking about earlier, or the bystander effect, where you always want to do something and contribute, but when there's work involved or something out of the box, you're kind of held back and you don't want to do it. You end up not doing it. So I've done that for a little while too, even with the rinks or whatnot. I've always wanted to do it. I just never did it. So this year I said I'm doing it, and I did the footwork to get in contact with the right people, and here we go. So for my son as well, I wanted to set the tone, like just to get out, help out any way that you can to give back, as little as it is, shovel a rink or whatever, just to give back to the community. And like I said, the King George is pretty close and dear to my heart, and it just feels good to be out there.
Absolutely, and you have that personal connection with the park, which is great, but I think a lot of Cornwall feels that way too. It's really a landmark in Cornwall. There's a lot of history there. So how does that feel to be part of like an iconic park in Cornwall?
I enjoyed it. You're just talking about it, and I got chills just thinking about it. Just being out there at nighttime, there's no one else around. The cold is cold out. You got the hoses out, but the lights are on. It brings me back to my childhood and reliving a bunch of memories, like crazy stories and big open ice hits and crazy goals and deeks and dangles that I share with my son and my fiance. It's just nice to be able to look back and think of all the good times we had at the King George Park.
Absolutely, and you obviously have been doing this for several weeks now, at least with the snow coming and things like that. But what's the secret to like perfectly even ice? Have you kind of mastered that yet, or?
Well, that's the power of Google is out there. However, I did not Google anything. I went with again going way back to my childhood, seeing Jerry and the other attendants take care of the rinks. I didn't want to Google it. I just wanted to try it my first time to do it my way and other people's way. And whenever I first got there, we had a late start because of the weather. I asked the city employee, I said, what do you recommend we do? Should we shovel first to get right down to the ground in the tarp, or leave the snow? He goes, just hit it with a lot of water. It'll work itself out. So I did that, and I noticed that it didn't work quite so well. So that kind of delayed it about a couple more days because we had to shovel off all the crust and then start over again. So definitely for me, my learning experience, I would get it right down to the ground or the tarp, whatever you have as a base when it's frozen, and go layer by layer, little by little, and not too much. So I also made that mistake on my own too. Too much water is no good. That forms a crust, and it could be a good thing, but we have no control with the kids going on it whenever we leave. So again, that was another obstacle we faced. We'd go out there about 9 or 10. Give it a flood and go back the next day and see there's footprints on it and this and that. So it was something to work on. And just seeing referees work on ice as playing minor hockey, bring a puck with a water bottle and some snow. So that does the trick too for big ruts and whatnot. And again, we just kind of did it as we went and figured things out. And the key to the King George that we focus on is the good edges. So we make sure all the snow is shoveled over the boards. And then we go around about 2 or 3 times with a good shovel and make sure all the edges around the boards are all clean and crisp. And that way there we get a good flood, and we got no slopes on the boards. So it's nice to pass the puck. You get a good bounce back. And that's been our focus, was the clean, crisp edges.
Excellent. So just finally, you talked about the hard work and the great experience and also the obstacles. So the most important question, would you do it again?
No, yes. Again, it's one of those things where I wait for volunteers to volunteer, and I put in emails or a phone call saying I'll be the backup guy, and I got a call to it. So it is time consuming. I work 12-hour shifts, so to find a time before or after work, it's pretty tiring. But most definitely, I have to say I would do it again, and for sure. Now that I know the ropes a bit more, I know what to expect and know what to do. I would do it again. And hopefully my kids and everybody else would follow suit. So that's the name of the game. Keep it going. I'll be one of the first on the list to put my name down next year for sure.
Excellent. Well, we from behalf of the city, we can't thank you enough for what you do, as well as all the other volunteers that maintain rinks around the city. It brings so much joy to families and children, and it's hard work that pays off for sure. So I want to thank you for joining me as well, and best of luck as winter continues.
Well, thank you very much for having us, and a big shout out to all the rink rats out there in Cornwall and the area. Again, it's a hard job, but someone's got to do it, and seeing the kids out there and the families enjoy the ice, that's what it's all about. Thank you very much for having me today.